Hi everybody, and welcome to Jewell Family Farm. Today we're going to be making a carrot cake. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to get our carrots ready, and we need 3 cups of raw carrots. So you need to peel. I'm not sure how many carrots is going to make 3 cups, so I'm going to peel them and put them in my food processor and grind them up. And then I'm going to do, probably I'm going to start off with about 5 or 6 carrots. And then I'll just keep adding to it until I figure out how much makes 3 cups. Okay, so I've got my carrots peeled and the ends cut off. I'm going to wash them. I'm just going to cut them up into this bowl here, into this measuring cup, and then I'm going to put them in the food processor. So we want 3 cups of raw carrots. Alright, I'm going to put these in the food processor and let's see how much that makes. They're grated. Alright, so here they are grated up. That made just right at about 3 cups. So 3 cups of just cut up carrots is what I measured. And it also makes 3 cups of ground. So that was easy. Let me move this out of the way. Move this food processor. Now I'm going to go ahead and spray my pans. You can use, you can grease your pans if you want to and flour them. I'm just going to spray my pans. I think these are 9-inch pans. And they are 9-inch pans. Okay, so I'm just going to spray them. Like I said, you can grease them and flour them if you want to. Okay. Alright, now I'm just going to set these to the side for now. You want to preheat your oven to 350. Alright, so we're going to put 2 cups of sugar. We're not going to use this other carrot. Alright, we're going to use two cups of sugar. And to that, we're going to add 1.5 cups of cooking oil. Okay. All right. Then to that, we're going to add 4 eggs. chickens have been laying pretty regular since it's starting to stay daylight a little bit longer outside. So I've been getting a lot of eggs lately, and my little Easter eggers, that's what we call those chickens that lay the different colored eggs. Their eggs are starting to get bigger now since they've been laying for a good month or a little bit more than that, and so the eggs are starting to get, you know, pretty good size now where they were real small before. All right, we're going to mix this up. All right, so let's mix our dry ingredients. All right, so we need 2 cups of flour. I'm going to rinse this cup out and reuse it. Changed my mind. I just went and got a different cup. So we want 2 cups of plain flour. 2 teaspoons of baking soda. 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. 2 teaspoons of baking powder. 1 teaspoon of salt. All right, we're going to sift this. I keep my little sifter in a Ziploc bag so it doesn't mess up my cabinets. Okay. So that calls for, what, 2 teaspoons of soda, 2 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt. Now we're going to mix all this in with the wet ingredients, and then we're going to add a 1/2 cup of nuts and then our 3 cups of carrots. So I'm just going to add a little bit of that in at a time, because if you add it all in at once, it puffs up on you and comes out all over your clothes. And you can see it spitting out a little bit over here. Okay, so now we're going to fold in the carrots and the nuts. This is an old recipe. My aunt made this one time when we were at Christmas and in North Carolina at my grandparents' house. And I remember this cake my Aunt Ruby made and brought it for Christmas. Or I'm not sure she made it there, but I thought she made it and brought it with her because she lived in a different state. But I never forgot that cake, and I always thought it was the best cake, and I absolutely loved it. And so I called her, or I wrote her daughter, my cousin, and I asked her if I could have the recipe, and she sent it to me. So I haven't had this cake since I was probably about, I would say, no more than 10 years old. So I'm kind of excited to try it again. You just fold that in, and I've got a half a cup of chopped nuts, and I just bought nuts, you know, whole nut, or what are they, half nuts and walnuts, and then put them in the food processor to chop them up. But you can use a nut chopper also. You don't have to put them in the food processor. I just don't have one of those, so I just did it that way. This is a very heavy, dense cake. My aunt, she's been gone for several years, many years now. All right. So I sprayed my pans down. And I'm going to try to make this as even as I possibly can in each pan. I'm excited to have this. Alright. Alright, we're going to bake this on 350 degrees for 30 minutes. And then we're going to let it cool. And I'm going to make a frosting for it, a cream cheese frosting. So I'll be back when this gets finished baking. Okay, so here's what happened when I pulled my cakes out of my pans. As you can see, it's stuck to the bottom. I should have put parchment paper in there. That's what I usually do, but I thought, well, I will spray it this time because I usually don't do that, but thought I'd give it a try. Well, that's what happens. So this cake doesn't have a bottom. This cake kind of broke off when I turned it out. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to piece it back together, and it's just for our family to eat anyway. I'm not selling it, or I'm not taking it anywhere. So I'm just going to do my best and piece it back together and make us a cake out of it anyway. Okay, so while the cake's cooling, we're going to go ahead and make our frosting. So I have here 1 block of cream cheese and 1 stick of butter. You want it room temperature. I'm just going to mix that together. Add in 4 cups of powdered sugar. I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. about the consistency that you want it. All right. Okay, we're going to see if we can get this cake on this plate and get it iced, put some icing on it without it falling all apart. Let me get a spatula. I'm not quite sure why this happened. I don't know. I don't know what happened here. But that's okay. It's not going to go to waste. We're just going to fit it together as best that we can and ice it, and it'll taste just the same. But I do believe that it had to do with me not greasing the pans and flouring it. I'm just going to put a little bit of icing on this, and then I'm going to put it together and ice the top. This happens sometimes when you're baking. Things don't go the way you want it to go. But if it's just for your family, it doesn't really matter. Now, if I was going to sell this, of course I wouldn't be selling it because it's just kind of a mess. But that's okay. For us, it's okay. I don't think I've had one fall apart like this before, though. Not like this, where it just crumbled. I'm not sure if this was a really old recipe, so I'm not sure. I was a little leery about using just the oil for the cake. I usually use some kind of Crisco or butter or lard or something like that. And so I was a little bit leery when they said it called for 1.5 cups of oil. But I did taste some crumbs and it tastes fine. Alright, so we're going to stick this one on top. Really? Now this one's stuck to this. Okay, this is just this is awful. I've never had this happen before, ever. Where it just fell apart like this. Huh. But, oh well. Once I get the icing on, you won't know the difference. At least I don't think you will. Now, my aunt's cake did not look like this when she brought it for Christmas that year. It looked really nice. It tasted really good. I'm not a professional cake decorator either, by the way. But, you know, I do want to show you my mistakes also, not just things that go right, because, you know, if somebody else would have made this cake and it would have fell all apart, you'd be like, you thought, we would think you did something wrong. And so, you know, I want to show you things that go wrong also. Alright, undo the sides. And don't forget, this cake is going to be covered in walnuts, so that'll cover up a lot of mistakes here. And this is a cream cheese frosting. So when we were little, we used to go to North Carolina every year for Christmas. Now, we lived here in Virginia, and it would take us 8 hours to drive there every Christmas Eve. And we would go down at night. We'd pack the car up, get ready for my dad to get off work or finish his work, and then the car would be packed, and Mom would have snacks made for us and different things like that. And usually we'd stop sometimes and eat our supper on the road. We'd stop at a restaurant, or of course there wasn't that many restaurants back then, but we would stop occasionally at a restaurant, or Mom would pack sandwiches or something like that. We'd eat them as we were driving. And but we would head out on Christmas Eve. And I remember when we get to North Carolina and we get to the mountain parts, not far from where my grandma and grandpa lived, and I remember it was really cold. It's usually really cold at Christmas, on Christmas Eve, and sometimes it'd be snow. But I remember everybody's lights as we were driving through the mountains, or going to the mountains, and I remember everybody's lights being on, and you know, their Christmas lights, and it was just so peaceful. And I remember my mom and dad had the radio on in the car, and they'd be playing Christmas music, and all my brothers and sisters, a lot of times they would be sleeping. We were sitting in the back seat, and we'd all kind of like lean on each other to go to sleep. And I remember them all being asleep, and my mom and dad having the radio on in the car as we were driving there. But this one Christmas, I remember my aunt breaking this cake, and the reason that I think I liked it so much was because it had nuts all over it. And we usually we didn't have too many cakes that had nuts on it, so it was kind of a special treat. And I remember when she cut that cake and we got a piece of it, I just thought it was the best cake I ever had. And I thought about that cake through the years, and I made a carrot cake once many years ago, but I didn't make her recipe. So like I said, I called my cousin and asked her if I could have it, and she'd send it to me. And so, okay, so far it's starting to look okay. Let's cover it up in some nuts. And this is the best part. 4 cups of nuts goes on this cake. Make sure you get it on the sides. And once you cut this cake, nobody's going to know what a boo-boo you made, or what I made. Hopefully yours will come out better than mine. But it looks good. It looks fine. Just cover it in nuts. But I just thought this was just the best cake I ever had, and I couldn't wait for her to cut that cake. I just thought it looked so good. Just squishy nuts all around that cake. I was going to make this at Christmas, but I just didn't have the time to do it. Know if we're going to need that many nuts or not. It called for 4 cups, but I don't think that we quite needed 4 cups. Push some of it back off in here. a little bit too much here. And there it is. And you would never know that this cake fell all apart. I think I missed a spot over here. And there it is. Carrot cake. Alright, let me cut it. Show you what it looks like on the inside. And there it is. And it looks delicious. It's a very heavy cake. Let me get a fork. I'm excited about this. I'll get some of the nuts on top. Tastes just like I remember. Delicious. Delicious. You can see the carrots in it, the nuts on top. Cream cheese frosting. Tastes like I remember. Really good. But I do think you only need to have 3 cups of the nuts to put on the top. I think that was a little bit overkill. Really, 4 cups of nuts will not stay on this cake. That was just too much. But I hope you try this cake. It's really good. I hope yours turns out a little bit better than mine, but the taste of it's perfect. Doesn't look that bad once you cut it up. So anyway, I hope yours turns out better than mine did as far as looks go. And I hope so. I think I would put parchment paper on the bottom of my and grease the sides of the pan really good. And I think your cake will come out just fine. So anyway, I hope you try this. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.